this environment that we are in, the sound that we have, I still feel that there's a lot of things that we can do still within what we're doing, and I couldn't really say if I mean the next album might be more direct even than ObZen for me is more direct than a lot of albums that we've done, and it's a bit more mainstream but still very far from it. We still might go more mainstream or go a way that people think is mainstream, that people find it easier to get into it, but we will never aim to be mainstream. We will never try to make things catchy, really. That's not really, and that's not really what we're here to do, kind of, you know. But you never know. I mean, we might release an album that people find is easier to get into, you know. But it's not going to be a deliberate like mainstream effort on our behalf. I don't know. I don't really think so. Maybe, you know, I don't really know. It's improvisation is something that we've always kind of kept out of the band. It's never really been a part of what we do to any extent. Fredrik's solo album, for example, is something completely different. Even though it touches base on like it pattern-wise, there's a lot of similarities too to what we do. But that, of course, that album is more closely related to a jazzy style of things. A lot of things like that, and it's impossible to say. It would be great. I would love it if we did something that was more like improvisational stuff. But it's hard because we really aim at like. Focusing the songs and getting the individual, the uniqueness of every track across to the crowd. And as soon as you start improvising, it's also easy to lose momentum in a track, in any given track. And that's to us in Meshuggah, that's something that we try to always have, that momentum going, like in the tracks, that they're not supposed to like, you know, lose that and go elsewhere and be kind of weird and introvert or something like that. We really want them to be kind of full-on blasts in a lot of ways. The thing is that we've never really had a good booker for Europe, and we have a good booker for Europe now that we've had a couple of years. So I think that things are going to change. It's really weird because our main market has always been the U.S. That's where we've sold most albums. So it's not only Germany. I mean, it's more or less all of Europe that we've kind of not played a lot, and especially Scandinavia and on our home turf. In Sweden, we almost never play in Sweden, like never, even more rarely than in Germany. So that is something that we need to change, of course. And the market for us is slowly picking up because Europe, and in that case, of course, Germany being the strongest, the main market in Europe, has always been slow for us. We've never sold any albums in Germany, so it in a lot of ways, it's hard to tour where you don't sell albums because the promoters don't want to pay you any money. They want you to play at a 200-people club, and they want to kind of give you, you know, food and, you know, a few hundred euros. You know, that's kind of how it's been. But things are slowly changing in the whole region of Europe for us, and it's starting to pick up and. By now, I think just because we've been releasing albums for so long, nowadays it's almost a bit of a cult band in some ways, and in that respect, we have a possibility to tour more in Europe because by now promoters are starting to like, oh yeah, they're kind of cool, I guess, you know. I mean, that whole thing was is something that the label did. The U.S. side of the label, Nuclear Blast, are based in Germany, but they have an office in L.A. as well, and they kind of set that whole thing up. I didn't see everyone, like there was so many, but I saw a whole bunch of them, and people could vote online for the winner. So it wasn't me who picked the winner. It was people voting online, and they picked this guy for the winner. He was just 14. He's just 14 years old. Yeah, and so it's one of those kind of cool things that we try to do still for the fans too. And I called him up. I called this guy up and congratulated him, and we spoke a while and talked about how long he'd been playing and stuff like that. So those are just tiny things that you can do. Of course, you can do a lot more things than that, as far as competitions and stuff like that. But I guess it turned out pretty cool, Well, some of the songs are played without using the lowest string, but it's all recorded and played on 8-string guitars. It's just that instead of like the Nothing album, everything is really like down tuned, and everything is like played single string on the F string, on the lowest string. We use the same guitars now on ObZen, and it's just a matter of some of the songs are played like higher up. Just to kind of get a better mix also between the songs, so everything is not like and also for mechanical reasons, almost like playing Bleed, for example, is really hard to play on the F string because it's kind of sloppy. So some things you need to kind of pick them up and play them elsewhere and play them on other strings to make it work better. So. It just came naturally from when we were writing the songs, and we wanted to. The main focus that we had on this album, what we really kind of, the only guidelines that we put for ourselves was that we wanted every song to be unique, to be a strong individual track, instead of how I feel now listening to, for example, the Nothing album. A lot of the songs are kind of similar. It's got a similar vibe throughout, and it's the whole album is kind of medium paced, like mid-tempo, and that's one thing that we wanted with this album. We wanted more different tempos, different tonalities, different melodies to some extent, and just to make the songs like be more individually differentiated from each other, to make them all kind of unique. So that was the main goal.